So what I'm going to show you in this video is how to make your moon spinner, and ultimately when you're finished it's going to look like this on the IP side of your notebook. So I'm showing you this so that you can see what the final product is going to look like. You'll have this green-blue paper with your moon spinner or your moon pictures on the bottom glued to your page with a colored earth on the inside. And it's not all glued down though, so that it can spin like this. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. But first we need to make sure you have all your materials. You should have a cut out picture of Earth that looks like this. You're going to have your moon phase outline circle pictures that look like this. You're going to need a white spinner template that looks like that. A brass fastener, which I will give you in just a little bit. You need your green piece of paper. This is a green piece of cardstock. A small index card, a dark colored pencil or marker, and a red pen. Pause the video to make sure you have all your materials. Step one is to cut out a picture of Earth and color it. If you're going to color it accurately, it should probably be blue for the ocean and green or brown for the Earth. Your next step is to get your moon phase outlined, your circles, and you're going to color this half black for each circle that you see because these are going to represent our moons. Now here's what it's ultimately going to look like, where it has half of the moon that is left white and the bottom half of it is colored dark. So your moon phase outline is going to look like this. Notice that I drew a line and colored the bottom of each one of these circles black, and I left the top white, but it's always white on top and black on the bottom. White on the top and black on the bottom, and I did that for all the moons. And notice that the angle of the dark and light is the same for every single one of these. Pause the video until you make your moon phase outline look like this. Next, you're going to get your white spinner template and your green cardstock. What you're going to do with this is you're not going to write on this or use this. You're only going to use it to trace on top of your green paper so that you can cut out the spinner with your green paper. So the white paper goes on like this, pause it, and trace this onto your green paper. As you're tracing, you're also going to poke a hole through the white paper and through the green paper. You need to make sure that that hole is accurate to the template. And then you should have this, and we're going to cut it out. You're also going to cut out your moon phase outline around the large circle. So now you should have your green spinner cut out with a hole inside. You should have your moon circles drawn and cut out. And now you don't need this white spinner template anymore because you were just using it to trace. Now you need to punch 2 more holes using whatever pen that you're using. You already punched a little tiny hole through the center of this where it was from your white template. But if you put this on the front of your moon spinner, you need to poke the same hole through this. So you need to poke a hole through the white paper also, and the hole on your green paper should match up with your hole on your white paper because you did them together. You also need to poke a hole in the very center of your Earth. This one doesn't really matter where it is as long as it's kind of in the center. So now you have a little tiny hole in the center of the Earth. Now it's time to start attaching things into our notebook, but first, we can't have any moonlight unless we have sunlight. So on your IP page at the very top, what you're going to draw is color a sun and the rays of the sun as it looks like right here, and also how I showed you in the notebook. Now the next part is where you're going to need your moon circles, and this part's just a little bit tricky, just pay attention. When you glue your moon circles onto your page, you have to make sure that it's not angled like this. Your light side of your moon should always be facing where the sun is, because that's where the moonlight comes from anyway. You can't have your paper glued in crooked like that, because that doesn't make any sense. Wherever you drew your sunlight and your sun rays, you need to make sure that the white parts of your moon are facing the sun. So pause this to glue it in the correct angle. Once your moon circles have been glued onto your IP page, now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the green spinner and the earth with the fastener. So you take your fastener and it goes through the holes you already poked. It's going to go through the earth, through the green template, all the way through to the back of your IP side. Now that's where your little index card comes in handy. When you poke it through on the IP side, then you're going to have these fastener pieces that are sticking out in the back. And so what you're going to do is on the back of your IP page, you're going to glue your index card behind it so that now you can still write on this page and you don't have those fasteners sticking out that's going to catch on anything. So ultimately, your moon spinner is going to look like this. Earth, green paper that spins around the glued on moon spinner here. Now here's the last thing that you're going to do and why you used the red pen. The red pen represents the perspective or the part of the moon that we can see from Earth. So let me show you what I mean. If you look at this picture, you see that there's a dotted line here. You're going to draw that dotted line with your red pen. And what that's showing is the part of the moon that we can see from Earth versus the part of the moon that we cannot see. So for example, if I'm here on Earth and I'm looking at the moon, I cannot see the back of the moon back here. I don't have x-ray vision. My vision can't bend. I can't see back here. So basically, I cannot see the back half of the moon. I can only see the part of the moon that's facing me. And this would be my new moon because all I see is the dark side of the moon. Your next red line is going to be on this moon right here. You're going to draw this red dotted line representing the half of the moon I cannot see from Earth. I can't see anything back here. I can only see the side of the moon that's facing me. And from this perspective, I would see mostly dark of the moon with a little tiny bit of a light angle. From this perspective, I would see not this part of the moon. Draw your red dotted line representing the perspective I see from Earth. I only would see half light and half dark. From here, draw your dotted red line this angle. This would be my gibbous moon because I see less than half of the dark side, but I see mostly light. When the moon gets to this point in its orbit around Earth, the dotted line, again, represents the part of the moon I cannot see from Earth. So I'm going to go ahead and cross this off, even though you're not going to do it. I can see the whole sunlit side, but not any of the dark side. This is when I see a full moon. Dotted line here, dotted red line here, and dotted red line here. Now that you've done that, I want you to take a few notes somewhere on the bottom or on this page. A few things that you need to know about the moon. Again, you're going to take a few notes on the bottom or on the sides, wherever it fits on your IP side. A few things you need to know about the moon is that it takes about 1 month to orbit around Earth. And the moon is also known as Earth's natural satellite, because a satellite is anything that orbits a planet. We've got man-made satellites that give us TV and radio and telecommunication, but those are all man-made. We have one natural satellite, because a satellite is just anything that orbits Earth, and the moon was not created, it's natural. We also need to keep in mind that the Earth and the moon reflect light from the sun, which is our closest star, right? The moon and the Earth don't make their own light. The only reason why we have light is because we get our light that is reflected from the sun. And this is why we have a daytime and a nighttime on the Earth and the moon, because the moon always looks half light and half dark from the perspective of space, but so does Earth. When we're on Earth, though, our perspective is very different because we can't see all of the dark side and all of the light side all the time. Make sure that you have these notes on the IP side, and also a couple of things that you need to make note of is the difference between a waxing and a waning moon. When the moon is in its phase and it looks like it's growing or getting bigger, we say that that is the waxing phase of the moon. Then once it hits the full moon, and then after a few days it starts looking like it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, we call that the waning phase. Again, it's not actually getting bigger and smaller, it's just that the amount of the sunlit side of the moon we see from Earth is changing as it's orbiting around us. Two other terms you need to know are crescent and gibbous. You need to know that when we see less than half of the sunlit side of the moon, we call that a crescent moon. When we see more than half, like this, of the sunlit side, we call that a gibbous moon. So, this is called a waxing crescent because it's in its growing phase. This is the waxing gibbous. This would be considered a waning because it's shrinking in its shrinking phase, but it's a gibbous because I can see more than half of the sunlit side. This is the waning crescent because I can see less than half of the sunlit side. So these are just a few notes that you need to get and take on your IP spinner anywhere along this where you have space, and you can even write these notes on your actual spinner as long as you have it somewhere on your IP side.